Vice President Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, to be the VP pick. So let me start here. I think, and I was saying this on last night on CNN a bit. I think it's ridiculous to say that Shapiro wasn't chosen because he's Jewish,
Right.
coming from Republicans. That's
Oh,
just
not
laughable
them
to me.
saying that.
Right. But the reason why did Trump not choose Tim Scott because he's black? Like
Mm-hmm.
y'all
Yeah.
don't try and match us with bigotry. Yeah, y'all
Mm-hmm.
do not do well when we think of Charlottesville. When we think about Trump saying that Jewish people who do not vote for him are very disloyal
He did say that. He sure
and
did.
never apologize for it. Never apologize for it, right? So I don't think it was because he was Jewish. And I'm a Philadelphia boy. I was saying this last night. I think a safe pick was important, and as somebody who understands the progressive left, even outside of his stance on Israel, because Walls and Shapiro have the same stance on Israel.
I mean,
It's
not
more
exact
so.
same, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
They
they're
don't have the
still
same
pro-Israel.
rhetoric. They don't have the same rhetoric though.
Rhetoric
So
is different, absolutely, but they're still going to pro-Israel. It's not going to be some grand shift. But
yeah,
for
we're not gonna
me,
stop arming Israel. I'm sorry, that's
exactly.
just not gonna happen.
But for me, I just felt like Shapiro, who I think is a great governor, but when it comes to being pro school vouchers, pro fracking, pro corporate tax cuts, those are the things that I felt like that may not do as well. Walls a little bit safer. I need safe. I want to win, and also the chemistry that Walls and I think Vice President Kamala Harris could have. I think it's really it could be really powerful. There's a certain swag that he has. I love the way he handles interviews. That whole
Yeah,
weird narrative he started
he
really.
did.
So I think it was a good choice. And I just think it's so funny. Republicans talk about identity politics and say that we always cry racism, but yet they're crying racism because Shapiro wasn't the VP pick. Listen, it is an arduous process that a lot
Mm-hmm.
of folks have gone through over the years, and has I mean, the GOP has never had a Jewish person or a person of no, they haven't, right? They never had a Jewish person or a person of color
No,
that I
no,
know that I
no.
could think of right
The only
now
Jewish
as the
the only Jewish person on the ticket was Joe Lieberman in 2000 with Al Gore. It was Al Gore and Joe Lieberman, Joseph
no,
Lieberman, former senator.
I mean Republicans as far as with the Republican at the top of the ticket.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
Out,
That's the
yeah,
only time a Jewish person
right,
has ever been on
exactly.
the ticket was one time in 2000. Yes.
Exactly. Y'all
Uh-huh.
have never had a black person or a Latin person on the
No.
so spare me, spare me. So I just think it's kind of funny that now unless Josh Shapiro comes out and says, "Hey, I experienced this anti-Semitism," which I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's not gonna. I mean, he was the top two. It was
Yeah.
the top two. Mark Kelly was out. Buttigieg was out. It was the
Mm-hmm.
top two. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good, safe choice. We have to win. All I care about is winning, and I really believe Josh Shapiro is going to be out there campaigning hard to see to it that Pennsylvania is a win. So
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. Reese Colbert, what do you think?
Excellent choice. Brilliant choice. I said on my show on Saturday, the Risa Carter Show, that our path to winning is keeping the Kamala momentum. The focus needs to stay on her, the energy needs to stay on her. And Tim Walz is a person that is going to be a workhorse for the ticket. It's a role that kind of Vice President Kamala Harris took on in this administration as second in command, or, kind of, leaning back just a little bit behind Biden and really taking on tough assignments and being a good messenger on that. And I think that Tim Walz will be an excellent workhorse, meaning a person on the campaign trail, a person who's going to go on Fox News and go on all of these news outlets and really sing the praises of Vice President Kamala Harris, but also make the contrast. He does an excellent job of making the contrast between Democrats and Republicans. He does it in a way that's really authentic. And I think that him against JD Vance in a vice presidential debate, if that happens, because JD Vance was kind of bitching out when he thought he would go up against
He's going to
VP.
slam him. He's going
It
to rip. It's going to be epic. It's going to be WWE.
Yeah,
It's going to
it,
be epic.
it's gonna be Joe Biden and Sarah Palin all over again.
Right.
And
Even worse than that.
oh,
Even worse than that.
Yeah.
because Sarah Palin I didn't like at all, and she was weird and goofy, but the rhetoric that's following I think JD Vance is a worse pick than even Sarah Palin. Because
Oh
if you
yeah, absolutely.
remember
Yeah.
Sarah Palin's first speech, that famous line, put a pig on a I
Lipstick on a
forgot, like she
pig.
right. She delivered a good speech.
She did
Everybody
it.
was
Yeah.
clapping or whatever. JD Vance hasn't even done that. I mean, a good
No.
speech by GOP standards. He hasn't even. There was some momentum around Sarah Palin in the beginning. JD
Hmm.
Vance has had no momentum whatsoever.
No.
So
No.
I think it'll be even worse. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that he just really makes an excellent contrast. One of his quotes, I shared a video on my Instagram story about it was like a compilation of Tim Walz clips, and he's one of the things I like. He said he was like talking about JD Vance has the award-winning Hillbilly Elegy was his little fake memoir that he did. He was like he wrote Hillbilly Elegy. None of my hillbilly cousins went to Yale, and none of my hillbilly cousins became venture capitalists. And so I think that he can really kind of poke at the absurdity of having a real estate fake billionaire and a venture capitalist as the so-called populist messengers and the everyday messengers and the people who can really speak to working class America. I think that Tim Walz is really an excellent choice. But in addition to just the politics of it, he really is an excellent governor. We might talk about it a little bit, Clay, but I launched you mentioned it earlier, Reese with the receipts. And so I just posted a Tim Walz fact sheet. Kind of quick. Shout out to my mom, Missy Vet Outlaw, for helping me being my research assistant. She's been helping me put together some of the forward-looking stuff that I'm looking at. So I just posted that on my reesecolbert.com/receipts. Put in your email and you can access all of my downloads. Now that's up to 6. And actually, going into his record, he's done some really excellent things. People might remember 4 years ago, we were still in this racial reckoning around George Floyd and
Quote
Breonna.
unquote.
Yes, quote unquote racial reckoning. But he's the governor of Minnesota. He appointed Attorney General Keith Ellison to lead the charge on the prosecution for George Floyd's murderers. He also signed the Police Accountability Act there that banned chokeholds, like the one that killed George Floyd. It required body cameras and other police accountability measures. And so there are so many ways he codified abortion rights in the Constitution of the state. He has been a champion for public education with his background as a public school teacher, a football coach. He's a veteran, an Army veteran. So he has this really interesting background. He's done a great job governing, and I like that in the interviews I've seen, he's not going to shy away from or apologize for giving kids free school lunches, for protecting abortion rights and things like that. So I think that Vice President Kamala Harris has a 1-2 punch. She has a person who's going to be an excellent messenger, who's going to appeal to a lot of people, but she also has a person that's not going to take too much spotlight away from her and really allow us to keep that momentum. So excellent, brilliant choice. I love it. We're not giving up any kind of advantages anywhere else in the country. And I think he's going to be a slam dunk. So I'm ready. I'm like, okay, my brother said, um, from the windows to the
To the
walls.
walls. I like
I was
that.
like, yes, okay. So I feel like we winning
Uh,
with walls, okay?
Josh Shapiro did tweet out about an hour ago. My work here in Pennsylvania is far from finished. There's a lot more stuff to get done for our Commonwealth. Over the next 90 days, I look forward to traveling all across the Commonwealth to unite Pennsylvania behind my friends Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and defeat Donald Trump. See you tonight in Philly. There's going to be an event tonight in Philadelphia. So, yeah, again, the narrative that he wasn't picked because he was Jewish, Republicans, look at your own ticket. Look at your own tickets. Do that kind of work. It is the vetting of the VP process. It's a hard process,
It
and
is.
they were the final two.